Hello.
Oh,
Hi,
there he is.
Thomas.
Hi. Hello. Kia ora. You can hear me
There
okay?
we are. Brilliant.
Cool. Okay. Do you want me to just jump straight into it?
Why
Yes.
not?
Far away. Okay, cool. So today I'm just going to run you through an example of what we call our feasibility reports. We're doing heaps of these for people who are looking to develop their land of various scales. So it can be from simple single lot subdivisions and new builds through to multi-unit development projects. Obviously for you guys, you've got quite a large section of land looking to put a number of houses on there. So essentially with our reports, we can scale up and scale down depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. So I will just share one on my screen. So I'll share a feasibility report that we've put together recently. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so this is one we've done in Point Chev, and I'll just run you through. And again, shout out if you've got any questions along the way. A few sort of intro pages. That process document, again, we ran through that last time, so hopefully I don't need to go through that now, but I can do. So what we do in the feasibility report, it's sort of broken down into several sections. The first part is obviously looking at the existing site, the sort of existing conditions on the site, and importantly, what are the planning controls and council regulations that are going to impact that site and its development potential. This one here is a site, as I said, in Point Chev, so it's obviously got a whole bunch of planning controls that are impact the site from the Auckland Unitary Plan. Your site, obviously being in the Waikato District Plan, will have its own set of rules that impact it. I've had a quick look before, things like your building coverage is going to be 2% of the site. You've got a max height limit of 7.5 meters, things like that. So every site around, obviously, New Zealand has its own set of rules and controls that impact the site. So what we do is we want to do a deep dive to make sure we've got an understanding of what all of these restrictions are going to be. And obviously we highlight it here in a table. And then we put together an existing site plan of the site. We do what's called a development analysis plan, where we highlight any potential red flags that are impacting the site, or sometimes there might be some perks of the zoning that might allow you to do certain things. And so essentially we just want to look at this site, try and think of as many things from as many different angles of things that may impact the ability to develop the site or develop parts of the site. For example, your site being on the lake, you've got an ecological corridor on the western end on the lake, so there's obviously going to be some implications there around what you can do in proximity of the lake. So things like that. So we just want to make sure that we, as I look at it from every angle and try and highlight any potential red flags or things that may impact later on. Then we jump into a proposal. And I guess before we even get to the proposal point, for us, it's about really understanding what it is you're looking to do as a group for the site. What are the outcomes you want to achieve? What's the outcomes, I guess, super long term. Obviously, you guys are going to be holding these houses. It's going to be kept as part of the whānau. Is it going to be a staged project? Are you wanting to sort of do it all at once? What are you hoping to put on the site? So we really want to understand all of those objectives first before we put together this proposal. And this initial proposal is not necessarily what the end outcome is going to be, but it's a sort of a starting point to enable us to start looking at what a development option could look on the site. And it's something that we can then start attributing costs to, so we can start to form that financial cost estimate on the project. Things will change, costs will change, go up and down, but again, it's always about taking those little steps forward to try and start making more informed decisions as you go through it. So in this particular proposal, the client she had an existing house on the site, and we just wanted to relocate the house forward and then bring another house, actually relocate a second house in the front. This was actually the second option we looked at for her. The first option involved two new builds, but the cost was coming in too high. So then we looked at the option of relocating her house forward and then bringing on another house onto the front. And again, we'll put together a site plan. We highlight all the development controls that are going to be impacting the amenity of the buildings. And we obviously check all the key things like, you know, your building coverages, your landscape coverages, your impervious coverages, all those sorts of things that are really relevant to the district plan, which are going to come up and form part of your resource consent application a bit further along the track. We also, so I've got an architectural background, we use a lot of CAD software, 3D CAD software. So we can actually model your whole site up in 3D and start to place buildings on it in 3D this early on. So you can start to get a feel of, okay, how's this layout going to look on the site? You know, where's the best place to bring in roads or driveways and access points, you know, where the outdoor living space is going to be, where a planting area is going to happen, all those sorts of things. Again, your site is a different scale to this, but it's the same principles. And being able to visualize your proposal, you know, at such an early stage, I think is super beneficial. Because then if you're talking to other stakeholders and other people who are involved, you know, you can show them this document and, you know, you don't have to sort of explain it all to them. You've got visuals here that you can use to help inform them. And so with these, once we've got these 3D models, you know, we can take a whole bunch of different images, we can test different things out. We check things against the building envelope, because the site will have a building envelope under which all the buildings need to fit, or it becomes a restricted discretionary activity. But with that, we also pair it up with a cost estimate. And again, this is such a hugely beneficial thing to have early on, because it starts to, you know, put in place an understanding of where the costs are going to be. I have to obviously say it's a cost estimate, and the further you get into the project, the more concrete these numbers are going to become. But what it does is it starts to tell us, okay, is this going to be a $3 million project or a $10 million project, or, you know, whatever it is. It's a sort of a line in the sand for this first go. It's starting to put some numbers together to cover all the things. And obviously that's why we really need to understand what your objectives are for the site. How many houses do you want to get on the site? How big are they going to be? You know, even down to, you know, what are the likely sort of cladding types and materials to be used, how much areas, you know, do we need to do landscaping and native planting and things like that. So the more information we can get from you guys in terms of understanding your objectives, the more information we can plug into our numbers early on, so we can start to paint that picture, you know, of what the likely costs are going to be. And obviously everything is, to me, it's a sort of a live document. It's a work in progress. And if there's other feedback that comes in, then we can quite easily, you know, change some of those numbers around to see how that impacts the outcome. And that's kind of it. And then we talk about some of the key steps towards getting that resource consent, because there might be some particular things that we need to get some planning feedback from pretty early, or parts of the process that we need to target first before we go and do, you know, certain other things. And again, this is hugely varied and specific to your piece of land and to your district plan and to, I guess, the process that you want to run through in terms of how, you know, we're going to put the project together. So yeah, that's our feasibility report. Any questions? Kelly?
Hi.
Hi.
So Thomas, thank you for presenting that to us. We have some family members who are wanting to buy homes. In terms of feasibility, what sort of ways that people can be able to actually access to buy homes? Because we know some people do rent to buy. Do you have those options available, or, you know, through KiwiSaver and so forth? So how do you guys go about it?
So do you mean in terms of how we can factor that into the feasibility report?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess this is where, before I'd start this, I really need to get my head around what your outcomes, what that desired outcome is that you want to achieve. And sometimes you've got to say, start parts of it. You know, we get the site modeled up, we start doing some preliminary kind of site layouts to see, and I guess it's also understanding if you guys have an idea on how many homes you'd like to fit on the site, or do you not know that yet, and you need to go through some of this planning process to understand how many you can fit on the site, and then obviously you want to know the financial say we can fit 20 homes across the site. What are the sort of potential financial outlays for that size project? Actually, no, we can only fit 15, or actually we can fit 25 as long as we sell 5 of them, and we factor in the costs of pulling in some the money in from those sales. That actually it enables us to do 20 long-term holds. So sometimes it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. It's like, what comes first? Do you start laying out the site plan before to kind of see how many houses you're going to fit before you start running the numbers, or do you actually need to get an idea on the numbers and if you're going to be selling some, how many you've got to sell before you then start to do the site plan?
Right.
So yeah, does that help answer? I guess we like to take as much information in as possible. And as I say, it is like a live document. So if we get some information in, we can start the process. Then if you've had a catch up, or you've got some more information around, actually we've got 5 families that are really keen to actually purchase, and these are the sorts of price points that they can afford and that we're happy to be able to on sale for, then we can plug those numbers in and see how that changes things.
Because obviously we like the idea of the 20, which we can work with roughly, but we know for sure there is more than 20 at the moment. It's growing day by day, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
At 40. So if we took 40 for a rough, or even 20, that's fine, either. But we want to build up a kāinga, and we're not selling these homes. So we want to give people the long-term longevity to be able to live on our lands, but still be able to have a home. And whether it would be either if we have run businesses there as well on site, but we're also trying to make sure long-term that we get our elderly, our kaumātua, back home first. And then we would do them in stages, like how you spoke about stages, right? So we'd do that and put them on the land first, and then we will get like, say, for example, I hear one of our family members who works in mental health. So we could possibly put a healthcare centre there, so accessible for them, and those certain things as well. But we're very mindful of there's an actual stream there. And we noticed that basically within council restrictions from 3 meters onwards, it's because it's got a little bit of stream going in there. And even though it dries out in summer, it's still counted as a stream, would you believe it or not? Basically, we realise it's got restrictions around that too on the land, but we do want to keep it because it's special to our family, especially to Kingitanga and the rest of the family. So long story short, we know that, and we know that we've got to be careful with the boundary zones as well in terms of where the lake resides right in front of us. So if we're looking at like development stages, like, first one, we'd love to have the grandparents there, and then obviously or the elderly there, and then stage by stage around that, if we could possibly build maybe homes as well for families. And then we'd love to have a space available where we could possibly maybe look for family who are still coming home. So then that way we can build. But that's have to be decided on.
My mic's got a question, Kitty.
My apologies, quiet.
Okay, I think what my cousin is trying to say, as we start with our stages, as we go 1, 2, or 3, when you so like if we wanted to start the kaumātuas first, would you be able to work out where they go, how many we can fit in there? Because we don't want to we can't have big homes in there, because no old people want a 3-bedroom or anything like that. And then, because we do have family coming in, and then on the next, say, stage, would you be able to do the same with however it can be developed? Like, one of the biggest things with our old people is that we need them where they can't just go for a swim. Some of them have dementia and stuff. So we
Sure.
need to keep them sort of safe within the family, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
then
no, definitely.
the next stage is, who are we putting around them to keep
Mm.
them in?
Mhm.
And then the third stage will be, yeah, we'll get there.
Sure. I mean, I think, and so Kelly, you mentioned at the start around 40 as a number. Is that, have you got that many families lined up essentially who are keen and or ready for these homes, or is that, where did that number come from?
That number came from each individual actually participating in our weekly huis. So we've
Right.
counted
Okay.
them, and some of them do have a bit of either KiwiSaver or money saved or inherited money that they'd like to put towards their homes. And some of them even looked at, hey, is there a possibility if we could do the, what do they call it, rent to buy as well.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I think one of the big restrictions, and again, we sort of dive into some of the details, but you know, your site has a building coverage, a maximum allowance of building coverage, which again, having a quick look at the Waikato plan for the, because you guys are in the rural zone, which is 2% of the site area. And given your, I think, 6.7 hectares, which is 67,000 square meters, if I just do a quick number on that, gives you a building coverage allowance of about 1,350 square meters. So your building coverage can start to dictate a number of houses that you can fit on the site. Again, I need to check and see if there's any sort of special rules for Papakāinga projects where there might be a bigger allowance. But you know, things like that, you're factoring in both what your wants and needs are for the site, but also what you can actually do based on the planning rules and regulations. And you might have to find a sort of sweet spot in the middle, because that building coverage, you know, you might be able to get a little bit more than what's in there. And again, this is where when you put in your resource consent application together, you can sort of push the council for a bit more than what the rules allow you to do, but only to a certain extent, only sort of a couple of percent more. And so that building coverage, then you might say, hey, well, look, if we did 100 square meter houses, we can fit 13, 14 houses on there. But if we were to do 80 square meter houses, actually we can fit 25 houses on there. You know, so you've then got to start playing around with actually how big do these homes need to be? How many bedrooms do you need? Do you want 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? Do you want a mix? Do you need some single bedroom units? You know, again, it's about understanding, I guess, what your overall objectives are for the project. And sorry, to answer your question around the staging thing, I always think the best thing is to plan for your absolute wants and needs. Like, if we could just do this all in one hit, what's our desired outcome? And then you kind of work backwards from that to be like, hey, if we got everything we wanted, what would that look like? And then you work backwards into how we can then stage it. And again, I don't know if the staging is based on like financial staging, or if it's more based on getting the right people, getting the facilities and amenity for the right people first. So the elderly people, getting that done, that might be stage one. And then, you know, you work into the younger families as stage two, you know, and again, it's understanding what your, based on your people and your whānau, you know, what the needs are there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we call them stages, the first one is for our kaumātukuia, because they need properties to come home to, and so that we can also make sure that they're safe. And we kind of make a general decision that it would be 2 bedrooms, kind of thing. Then we've also put out to our wider whānau, and we know that we actually kind of need spacings for where you've got 5 or 6 children at the same time. So it's very much going to be a mixed housing situation. And so that's why we know that's going to be pretty important to know those avenues of how big we can actually go, so that we've got a general idea. So we know what our want is. We want to just put as many houses as we can, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then we know it's not possible. So then it may end up being that the other ones kind of might end up having to go into like a lot system to see who's the ones that, because if we can get this project up and running, then we know that these other places where we can
Sure.
probably put some of our whānau on as well, but
Mhm.
we want to make this one go
One step-
right.
yeah, one step at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why
So-
we've been asking people to
yeah.
come on board and tell us and help us so we understand more.
Sure. Do you have that kind of do you have a project brief document in terms
Not
of that
yet.
outlines? Okay, so I'd say that's something pretty crucial to put together, and obviously you want to get all the feedback in from all the various stakeholders and people, because that's something that I would find very crucial to use to feed into our feasibility report, to make sure that we're putting something together that is really helping you guys and aligns with, as say, what your needs and wants are for the site.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. From me, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Mama, you got anything else you want to add?
Okay.
But you put your hand up, so I'm not sure. Oh, you're waving.
Oh, waving. Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually appreciate what you're giving of your time today to actually
Cool.
help us understand better what it looks like and the other pieces of homework that we still need to do to make this fruition a real dream for
Yep.
our whānau and stuff like that. So thank you very much, Thomas. I think Kitty's
Not a
got
problem.
one more question.
Yes.
This is a question coming from the whānau. They're asking, have you ever before worked with like multi-land, and if not, that's not a problem at all. Would you
Sure.
consider maybe partnering with a project manager who can help assist you in that area?
So I haven't worked on multi-land, no. I have worked on projects where we've had iwi involved, and there's been iwi consultation involved with projects. As I say, I have worked with other community housing providers. Like I said last time, Habitat for Humanity, Ki Anga Ora, Court's another one. These are all Auckland-based people. And I've been involved in funding applications to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development for some of those projects as well. But no, so this is my first time working on multi-land in a Papakāinga project, but equally it's exciting to learn more about this process, and I think it's a really awesome thing. And if I can use some of my learned experience and skills and pass it on to help you guys, then that would be really cool.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, again, thanks for your time, and we might talk again soon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, see ya.
Thanks so much.
Excellent. Yes.
Appreciate it.